Greetings and salutations from the Illumination.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Richard.
And we're a couple from the north of England. We're here to share with you our journey and experiences of Lorcana.
So we're going to be doing a series of videos where we look at all the preview cards for Rise of the Floodborn, which is the new expansion for Lorcana. It's going to be a series of videos. Not all of the cards has obviously been released as yet, so as and when there's enough cards to do a review of, then we'll be going through them. We will give tier ratings to each of the cards on what we sort of think of them at the time, but obviously this may change over time as more cards get released for the set. There's ones that we've already recorded that I've already changed my opinion on because new cards have come out.
And we do value your opinion as well, so if you want to comment with any ideas and suggestions that we haven't came up with, that would be really helpful.
Okay, so should we crack on to Ruby, are we now?
Yes, we are. So, the first card that we're going to be talking about is Lady Tremaine, which is the overbearing matriarch. Do you want to start this one off?
I've not got a lot to say on this one. The plus on it is it slows aggro a little bit, but it just sort of appears that it's a worse version than Baby Aladdin, and Baby Aladdin wasn't that great. It's uninkable and it's circumstantial.
What did you...
I gave it an F.
Right.
I thought it was trash tier.
Right. So I've got that, I thought it was situational, uninkable. I don't see where the card would be played and how it would be beneficial early on in the game. So like dropping it obviously into the 2 slot. I would actually prefer to play Donald Duck, which is the boisterous fowl one, or Minnie Mouse sitting around, even though they're vanilla, just due to them both being inkable and having higher strength and willpower. So I actually give her a C, but potentially a very low C.
Yeah, I think there's going to be very few decks that I would put this in. The only way I could see putting this into a deck is if this is going to be a baby version of a shifted Lady Tremaine, because at the moment it's pretty weak, I think.
Yeah, I agree. The next card that we're going to talk about is Minnie Mouse Wide-Eyed Diver.
What did you think on this one?
So, I'm going to jump in and say what I've actually scored at first. So I've put her as a B. The reason for this is she's playable on turn 2. She works well with other evasive characters, although not a great law gain gaining 1 law. It really depends on how many actions someone chooses to put in the deck for this to make an impact, but it is still a very low cost evasive character when shifting.
The cheapest Floodborn in the game at the moment?
I'm not entirely sure.
Especially if she's shifted.
Yeah.
Well, I think she'd share that with the Queen from Amber, although at the moment there's not really a cheap one to shift the Queen onto. But a 2/3 with evasive for 2 ink is amazing. Occasional questing for 3. It's probably not going to be every turn she's questing for 3 with that ability. But as we've already seen in Emerald, there's a couple of low cost actions in there. There's one that's a cantrip action. So if you're playing them around, this is a card that needs to be built around to get the most of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've given it an A. I think, getting this down on turn 2 and, occasionally questing for 3 with it having the evasive, they're going to have some quick answers for this card.
Well, I also thought that even if you didn't get them actions out and you didn't think about that as the end goal, thought just the fact that you're getting an evasive out on turn 3, sorry, because of the shift.
You get it out on turn 2. You play the mini baby.
Yes, sorry.
Baby mini turn 1.
So yeah, I just thought that it would just be good to get an evasive character on the board, and it's quite hard to deal with that early on.
Yeah, the only thing, Ruby hasn't seen the most characters yet revealed in Rise of the Floodborn at this moment in time. So there's not really there doesn't feel like there's a aggro capability yet in Ruby, as there are with other sets. So it's one that you're going to, at the moment, having to be relying on the other colour that you're putting in to be backing up the fact that you've gone aggro with the Minnie Mouse.
Yeah. Unless
Ruby sees quite a few more low-cost characters in the set. We've got another Minnie now, though, haven't we?
So the next card that we're going to chat about is Minnie Mouse zipping around.
Vanilla, yeah. It's another Minnie to enable the shifted one, though. If you're not seeing your 1 drop, it's a C because it's vanilla. It's decent stats, I suppose. It's taking out the likes of a Simba bodyguard. I love the art. I think that's really cool. I'd really like to see a set of these like a little biker gang of Disney characters.
Yeah.
What's the name of the character that's often with Goofy? That's the bigger version. Is that
I think
just...
it might be Brutus.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
he just looks obviously like a stereotypical biker.
Yeah.
And apologies if you are a biker and you're taking offence at it. But he just looks like he should have a Hell's Angel.
Big monstrous motorbike as well.
Yeah.
Not these little scooter style.
I
know you like.
Well, you could have it as like mods versus rockers then as well.
Yeah, you could. But yeah, I touched on Minnie Mouse sitting around earlier when I was talking about Lady Tremaine. And obviously I'd put Lady Tremaine as a C, and I think I would put Minnie Mouse just slightly above, but not pushing into the B category, so I would put her as a high C. So the next card that we're going to chat about is Mulan, Soldier in Training. So straight away I've went in with Uninkable. A common theme with me, not particularly keen on Uninkables, or not loads of them in a deck anyway. We've actually thought about it, and is it soldier in training or is it a card in training? I'm not massively fussed about it. I would prefer to play Maui Hero all at a higher in cost, and I've actually put her as an F, so I think she's trash.
I'm slightly high. I've given her a C. The reason being is it allows Ruby to sort of separate itself a bit from always having to be paired with Amethyst.
Okay.
It's Ruby's version of Zeus.
Yeah.
It's that four slot Russian character that can take out something quickly for them, that before Ruby Amethyst was having to use Rafiki in the 3-drop or Zeus in the 4-drop. But that was about the positive I could see for it, really, was that it just allows Ruby to look at other colours.
Well, I did initially think about Zeus and Rafiki, but yeah, again, it's not something that I would put in instead of them. Obviously, if you were playing a Ruby Amethyst deck, obviously, if there's the case that you're going to play the Ruby with something else, that makes a little bit of sense, but I'm not overly fussed about it.
Yeah. I will say, most of the cards that we've seen so far in Ruby, aside from sort of the Minnie Mouse, Ruby's not exciting me as much as the other colours.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
like obviously, as I say, we've not seen a huge amount of them yet, so we don't really know what the theme of Ruby is in this set, apart from sort of cards that involve actions.
Next card is Rhea, Warrior of
Warrior of what?
Commandra. We're going to talk about Rhea, Warrior of Commander.
That's easy for you to say.
Really not. So I've said about Rhea that it's another vanilla card with the same stats as Scar, Fiery Usurp. She's not got bad strength, but I think I will only see her as a filler card. I would prefer to play Pongo, because I like my evasives, in that slot, definitely.
I'm going to be quick on this one. I put down, why would you play this?
Okay, fair enough.
There's nothing to it for me. Yeah, it's an F.
I've put her as a C, low C. So
yeah.
It's funny, like the way that we're doing this. Like some cards we actually totally agree on, but then we are different on the levels.
I don't think we're a million miles apart on most cards.
Yeah, but then as I say, the levels, like one, I'll say a C and you'll say an F, and I'll say an F and you'll say a C. So next one. Speaking of which, that we were talking about before. Scar, Vicious Cheater.
When this card first came out, I saw it. I wasn't that impressed, and I thought, is there somebody at the design studio at Ravensburger that clearly was distraught after watching Lion King? Because every Scar card that's come out so far has been pretty pants.
Yeah.
There's not one that's been really playable. And I was thinking that this was the same really with this Scar. It's another Uninkable. It's a high cost, circumstantially. It could be better than a Be Prepared or a Marry. But that's only in circumstances. The fact that it doesn't kill everything on your side of the board, which a Be Prepared does. It can combo perhaps with the likes of the Beast from Emerald to get readying a few times. It can combo with the Red Queen that's in Steel. But most of the time, you're going to be looking at this card in your hand when you've just drawn it. You're looking at the opposition and what they've got out, and you're just going to be thinking, I wish this was a Be Prepared.
Right.
You're going to be looking at it's like a Cuzco that's readied opposite you, and it's like they're on 17. This is not helping at this moment in time. So I gave it a C.
So I've put it a little bit higher. As you already know, I'm selective on my inkables in my deck. But I do like the surprise element that he has, especially with the sort of rush coupled with the fact that he can challenge and banish multiple characters in one go. Something that I'm intrigued by anyway. Still not 100% of what decks he would be most beneficial in, but I did put him initially as an A.
It might be that it replaces Be Prepared in decks, but at the moment you're sort of looking at Ruby and in the 7-drop you've got Be Prepared, you've got Aladdin, both of which are super strong cards.
Yeah.
But it might be that it's a very different deck. This may be in like a Ruby Emerald bounce deck, where you can just keep returning this back to your hand and replaying it and getting the benefit like every other turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might have sort of overlooked that aspect of it.
Okay, the next card that we're talking about is Tigger, One of a Kind. So it isn't a card that excites me, even though I quite like Tigger.
Yeah, he isn't one of a kind though, because this is the second one.
I like the fact that he's got 2+ strength, but it is circumstantial. With the whenever you play an action stipulation, it makes us feel that this card is practically a vanilla card.
Yeah, I think you sort of treat it as it being a vanilla card that occasionally will be really good, because you would be putting it into whatever deck that the Minnie Mouse Diver's in. So you're going to be adding in quite a lot of low cost actions into the deck as well. So if you're triggering the Minnie Mouse on the same turn that you've got the Tigger out, then that Tigger's a 7/3. I think it's solid. I don't think it's amazing. I've got it as a B.
I'm wondering from that as well if there's going to be some more sort of low cost, really effective actions coming into, because I don't really have a sort of game plan almost of the way that it's going. And obviously a couple of cards have talked about actions having an effect. And
I don't know if they would be that effective.
So I've got Tigger as a C as well.
I think if Ruby has a couple of actions that are cantrips, that will certainly help.
So the next is Dinner Bell, which is an item.
This is probably the one that I've not given it the highest rating of the cards out of Ruby, but it's probably the one that excites me the most, because it's the first one that really gives Ruby draw, which in the first set, was there any card in Ruby that had draw?
Not that I can think of.
No, I don't think there was. It's circumstantial draw, like all the colours except for Amethyst are. But if you use this in conjunction with a Maui or the Scar that we've just seen, you've got the potential there to draw 4 cards off either of them. The issue with it, a decent player will clearly sort of play round it once you see it hit the table. They'll be making sure that there's not the ability for 4 damage to be put on their characters. But I gave it a B.
So I went a little bit lower with a C. Again, I was talking about circumstantial as well. Do I really want to be banishing a character? I know it sounds like once the health is nearly run out almost. Do I still want to be doing that though? It's like maybe something like Maui, but I wouldn't want it in my deck instead of something like Dragonfire. So if I had choices over uninkable cards, do I really want to be taking sort of any slots of that? Yeah,
I think when it was one of the first cards after the preliminary ones of Rise of the Floodborn to sort of be revealed, and at the time I was excited by it because it was something outside of the main two colours that get card draw. But since then, all the colours have got a fair bit of card draw now. So I've waned on it since.
So we're on to the Sapphire deck and the new releases there. So the first one we're going to talk about is Cogsworth Grandfather Clock.
I like what you've put there for it.
I just need a better understanding of the resist function. That's what I wrote. Yeah, do you want to enlighten me about that?
Well, you've got a plethora of characters down on the board. They're all pretty low in willpower. The opponent plays a Grab Your Sword or a Big Tink. You pick up all your characters and put them in the discard.
Yeah.
Which is generally what's happened with Chapter 1. Now, giving things resist means anything that does any point of damage, if you've got resist 1, you're taking 1 less damage off every time. If you've got resist 2, you're taking 2 points of damage off every single time. So against a lot of steel like ping damage, resist is an amazing mechanic. What was your rating of this then?
So, with my limited understanding, I was just trying to think of how it would fit certain decks and gameplays. So, at the moment, I've got it as a low B, but I don't know if that's going to change. It potentially will. What do you think?
S tier.
All right. Right, okay.
Yeah. It can shift on turn 3.
Oh.
It has ward. It can give everything resist, which is super powerful, especially against steel. It's inkable. It's Floodborn. It quests for 2. It can sing Let It Go. That's 7 different things that make it amazing.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, this is a game-changing card. Yeah, one of the best characters, if not the best character in Chapter 1 was Big Tink, and this is anti-Tink.
Okay.
Any Sapphire player, I think you've got to be playing. The only downside is, like we've seen with other colours, there's bottlenecks on certain slots as you go up, and the 5 slots for Sapphire is getting a bit crowded. So you've got this now, you've got Jasmine, who's going to be very good for with a lot of the healing cards for this. She's definitely a card that had gone from a solid card to now being a very good card. Maleficent, the quest for 3, it's the 3/6 body that sees a lot of play in like Amber Sapphire decks. That's a 5-drop. And Donald Duck, who didn't really see much play at the start in tournaments, but he sort of started coming through as an extra Cuzco, really, having ward. So I think Donald will probably drop off the wayside again. Now we've got another card that's got ward, but there's still a few to choose between. But yeah, S tier.
So the next card that we're going to talk about is Cogsworth Token Clock.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one, this one, because it opens up sort of a whole shift in what Reckless characters can do. It gives them all another ability. And the opponent could be like looking there and saying, I'm not going to put any characters down on the board because you've got like a couple of Mauis and a Gaston, something like that. I think this has to fit in a Ruby Sapphire deck. Well, they could have like 2 or 3 Reckless characters out there that you're not wanting to put anything out to get destroyed. I don't think it's going to be a tier A deck. I think it's going to be a meme deck, but it's just fun. And the main thing for it is that it lets you shift the other Cogsworth out on turn 3.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to see play, if at all. But the ability is odd because there's not anything else that's got Reckless in Sapphire. So it is that you're having to combo this with Ruby. I gave it a C. It's just a bit odd.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a weird one as well, so I would potentially go for a C as well.
Yeah.
I haven't got much to say for once. So the next card is Gaston Intellectual Powerhouse, which is a very, very weird way to describe Gaston.
What is the Floodborn version of it?
So I've got the only Gaston currently that you could shift this onto, as far as I'm aware, is Gaston Arrogant Hunter from the Ruby deck. Therefore, we're going to see a low-cost Gaston appear in Sapphire. But then we've just been talking about Cogsworth having to almost marry up with the Ruby deck at the moment.
So I think that they are sort of pushing a bit of that. Like we've seen with the Emerald and Amethyst, there's definitely been a push towards that being a pairing. I think this is where that some of the Sapphire cards are going.
I also thought it's got a powerful card draw ability, good law gain, and the stats are not bad. The fact that it's uninkable and a 6-cost character without using the shift is a disadvantage. But I did give it overall a high B.
I went B as well. Sapphire needs draw. In the first set it only had Robin Hood. Unfortunately, this is vying for space with Robin Hood. They're both 6 drops. I think it's a better card draw than Robin Hood. Yeah, Robin Hood is circumstantial. The opponent's going to have more cards in hand than you. The ability of this sort of reminds me of some of the old Magic the Gathering cards where you could look at 3 cards off the top of your deck and pick one, and then choose what you're doing with the others. Questing for 3 as well is great, and shifts for 4. So yeah, I like it. A solid high B, I think, for this.
Yeah. Next card that we're going to talk about is Prince Charming, Heir to the Throne. I have him. Well, he's a vanilla character. He does have decent stats. Would I have it in my deck other than to fill it out? Probably not. But then again, you need cards to fill out at the moment. We haven't got a variety of cards that fit every single sort of idea where you're going with a deck, so you do need them full of cards at the minute. It would massively depend, however, what other colour I would be using in my deck as well.
Because like the card that you'd immediately compare this to is Hans from Emerald, but there's sort of a different dynamic between Sapphire and Emerald. Like with Sapphire, you do have some chunky cards like Maleficent that are questing for free on and are a 5-drop, huge body there. But this one, Sapphire early on tends to sort of be playing things like the Mickey Mouse Detective on turn 3. Then on turn 4 you're on 5 ink, so you've gone past the point of the 4 ink card. So he's not sort of the same as a Hans. He requires a different theme to where he fits in, which I've not yet worked out where that is. I've still got him as a B because I think he's a very good vanilla. The only other thing as well, like we've seen with Emerald Hans, is he dies to a smash.
I've also got him as a B. I've put him as a low B. So next up is 4 Dozen Eggs, which is a song, but it's inkable. It's a little bit higher than I thought cost-wise, but I think it may be the first card. A positive ability sort of lasts until the start of your next turn. What do you think?
It fits going wide decks, Amber Sapphire, you're probably looking at using like the Rockstar Stitch to just go with your cards. You could use it then to exchange your cards into theirs, knowing that all of yours have got resist, or just the fact that you know on their turn that they can't grab your swords. It's an anti-grab your sword card. It's okay, it's tech cards where you're sort of putting something in to expect something from the opponent, but you might never see it. But the fact that it's inkable, it's sort of it's up there with like a Hakuna Matata that if the opponent isn't playing steel and playing grab your sword, then you just ink it.
Yeah. I've put it as a C currently.
I put it as a B, but I could go either way with that.
We're going to talk about Fang Crossbow, which is an item card. I've put that it's very good. I like that. Its ability to banish things like Maleficent Monstrous Dragon or Madam Mim Purple Dragon, and hopefully other dragons that may be revealed at some point shortly. But to play a 2 ink to reduce a character's strength by 2 isn't appealing to me.
Right. I've got a very different opinion.
Oh, okay.
The reduction in strength is where the benefit of this card is.
Right.
The ability to get rid of an opponent's dragon. Like we've seen this already before. We've got Poison Apple in chapter 1. We've got Sword of Truth. We've got the Moana that kills Tekar.
Yeah.
And why that card exists, I have no idea.
That's crazy, yeah.
But the best of that bunch is the Poisoned Apple, which saw a tiny amount of play in Ruby Amethyst deck.
Yeah.
For about 2 weeks.
I was going to say very early on, wasn't it?
Yeah. Our friend Dan played it and gave up on it after a week. But that isn't played, and how many princesses are there in the sets? Probably about 20 at least.
This is very circumstantial.
Yeah, there's 2 dragons currently in the game. And you're going to take a card in to kill one of them.
No, I totally get where you're coming from, and that's why I was saying I would hope to be able to say a lot more coming from it. If you're going to play sort of anything like that, I know that obviously it limits you to Ruby decks, but something like Dragonfire, just, get rid of them.
No, Sapphire's got Let It Go.
Okay, yes.
So, you'd never play this over a Let It Go, would you?
Yeah, definitely not.
I gave it an F.
I will put it as a C, not an F. Yeah, pretty pointless.
Loving it a minute ago.
No, it was the ability to banish them if there was a lot more dragons.
I'm 99% sure there's going to be a rare Last Dragon. The fact that the Last Dragon set has been introduced in this expansion, you've got to expect more dragons to be coming in.
Yeah.
So then, the more there are, the better the card becomes.
Yeah.
But with only 2, as it stands, this is trash.
So we're on to Cinderella Knight in Training. What do you think about this one?
It sets up the shift to Cinderella. That's a positive. It's Simba that's a bit bigger. It's a princess, which is a plus, unless the opponent's playing Poison Apples. But it's competing with Prince Eric for your 2-drop slot in Steel. I think it's good. I would be playing this card, I think. I don't think it's amazing, but like most baby shift cards, none are particularly amazing. It's all, you're playing them because you want to shift.
Yeah, I was thinking similar. It is a good 2-drop ability if your mulligan wasn't great. Otherwise, it's like,
Yeah,
do
it's
you
the
want
same
to
as
do
the
it?
Simba. It's like it's a great way of just sort of helping you ink out early on.
Yeah, but in my opinion, actually better stats than the current Steel 2-cost characters. So I would definitely say a card to consider or put into any Steel deck, and especially with obviously the shift ability as well.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed with this and things like the Simba, and there's a few other cards from Chapter 1, is that Steel has this sort of undercurrent of being able to discard its own cards. I think there's going to be a payoff to that. The fact that Emerald has so many cards in it this set that cause the opponent to discard, and like Steel, you've got this, the Simba, A Whole New World, you've got the Baby Tink, you've got Ransack, which is a god-awful card, probably one of the worst cards out of Chapter 1. There's 5 or 6 cards that Steel discard for themselves, and I expect there being a bit more of a payoff. There's 2 at the moment. You've got Beast Mirror, so you can draw cards when you're down to 0, and you've got the new Princess Tiana that we're going to be on about in a second. But I think there's going to be more of a payoff. So, like, if you something that you can bring cards back from your discard, you could see in Steel, or just something that's super powerful if you've got 0 cards in your hand.
So we're going to talk about Cinderella Stout-Hearted. I'll start this one. I've got that it's inkable, it's got good stats, and it's got the resist ability as well. Currently, you can shift on Cinderella Knight in Training. As I said before, I'm not sure if I would want to play the Cinderella Knight in Training though. Could work well in an Amber Steel deck though with the song ability, and I've put her as a low A.
Low A.
Low A.
Well, I'm just throwing my S tiers out left, right, and centre.
Wow.
This is great. This does, the resist 2, the fact that it can kill readied characters.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
That is huge.
Maybe I just didn't pay much attention. Yeah, I think you delve a lot more into Steel decks than what I do, so maybe it's something that I really need to go back to the drawing board and have a think about how Steel decks fit into how I want to play.
Well, the thing that gets it with me for this is all those games where you got it sort of, you can see that the opponent's got to 17 or 18 lore, and they play a character, it stays there, it's looking at you with that 2 or 3 lore that it's needed to quest, and you're drawing a big tink, or you're drawing something that could kill it if it was exerted, but because it isn't, it's just sat there and you can't do anything. The fact that this can kill a readied character means that you've got that protection.
Yeah, and it's changed sort of that last part of the game where you're not being surprised with the lore gain. You already know what's going to happen, and you're just fumbling and trying to find a way through your deck, through anything that you can do to try to get rid of that one character.
Yeah.
And then they drop another one.
Yeah, the only slight I've got against it is it's fighting for that top dog space with Big Tink. Big Tink is such a great character. It might not be as powerful coming into this new set with the resist mechanic, but you've got to perhaps play both of them and work around it.
Okay. Next is Donald Duck Deep Sea Diver. What do you think?
Artwork, love it. Love the little Easter egg of Minnie Mouse Diver being in the background.
I like the diving one so far.
It's a different Cerberus. It's Cerberus with the stats just twisted round. Instead of being a 5/6, it's a 6/5. Depending on part. Like Cerberus saw play in set 1. It was a vanilla card, as it sort of saw play more the Amber Steel mid-range deck rather than the aggro one. Do we need a different Cerberus? It depends upon what other people are playing at that time. If they're playing if you're playing a bit more defensively, then you play the Cerberus. If you're playing a bit more wanting to take out the opponent's characters, then you play the Duck. But it's a C, it's a vanilla.
Yeah, I think you've basically covered what I was going to say about it. Yeah, vanilla with 1 lore gain, higher strength than any of the Steel 5-cost characters. But would you play it instead of others? Potentially not, potentially yes. It really depends. It's inkable. I like that. That's about it really. I'll give it a C. And so we're moving on to Goofy Knight for a Day. Is he a knight for a day for you?
Oh, he's the big dog. He's a character that is mucking up the size of the strength and willpower buttons because it's hard to fit all the stats in there.
Is one of those characters where as soon as I seen him, I just thought, hang on, is this a broken card? Straight away, until I read a bit more. Well, not that there is anything to read. Yeah, I think he scared a lot of people straight away, and people automatically went, yes, he will be in my deck no matter what. I will change colours, I'll change strategies just to make sure he's in there. And really, what you're getting from him is a very high cost character.
Against certain decks, he works.
Yeah.
You know, if they haven't got targeted removal, he's taking out a fair few cards for them to get rid of it.
We've got to get up to 9 ink just to play him. I know that there will be options to quickly get stuff into your ink well. But
yeah, you'd be probably playing him in something like Sapphire Steel with all the ramping.
Yeah.
And then perhaps because you're playing with the Sapphire, you've also got stuff like Aurora to give it ward.
I did think, he is potentially a game changer. But with his massive stats, with the 4 law gain, but it's getting him into play. That's going to be the tricky thing. I know that you're saying there's different ways that he could be getting into play, staying in play, all these different things. But with a 9 cost character, do you not want to be playing 2 5 costs, like a 1 and a 4 and a 5, like that sort of thing? Do you not want to just be putting 9 1 cost characters out and just seeing what happens?
Questioning what on earth is going on if on turn 9 you've suddenly got 9 1 cost characters.
But yeah, just overall, I would say if he fits correctly into a deck, he's an A.
Yeah. As I said before about the whole steel discard mechanic that's sort of underlying, this is one where I wonder where the payoff may be, that you discard Goofy to your Simba to your Cinderella early on, and then there's something else then that can trigger to bring him back, put him directly into play.
Okay.
I wonder if something's going to happen with him. I'm going to now go back over something I've said in other videos that I hate in what other people say, but now say it myself, in that he dies to a Dragonfire. That's the big issue for him. He's got no protection at all. You're putting a lot of expense into that one character. Then if they do have a Dragonfire or a Let It Go, that's
just gone.
Yeah, it's eggs in a basket. I gave him a C. If there is something that can cheat him out, I'll put him up to a B.
We're going to talk about Li Shang, the archery instructor. I think that he's got good stats, a good law gain, it's inkable, it costs 5. With his evasive ability, I think he's extremely good against evasive decks as well. What you were thinking?
Yeah, I'm a bit undecided on him. I've put him down as a B. What I like about him is he's in that 5 slot for steel, which basically means he can sing A Whole New World and grab his sword.
Okay.
That's a huge plus. He's tech against evasive, but it's evasive decks aren't tier 1 at the moment, so he's sort of handy. But he's in that, and he quests for 2. He's got decent stats certainly. He's sort of duking it out with Beast at the moment. I think I prefer Beast just because the ability to get rid of items I think is stronger than his ability to get rid of evasive. There's other things in steel that can kill evasive. There's direct damage, there's grab your sword, there's smash, there's big tink. They all can kill evasive, whilst they all can't kill items.
I did give him a low A though.
Yeah, well, I'm a B.
Yeah.
So it's not a million miles away.
So up next is Robin Hood, Capable Fighter. What do you think of this?
I've put it down as a C, but I do like the card. It's not pulling up trees. It's going to be... it's something where I'd probably come in with an Emerald deck and use it with things like the Beast in Emerald. It's uninkable. It's going to die fairly quickly. I think it's the nostalgia from playing Magic the Gathering. There used to be a card in there called Prodigal Sorcerer, who was in the very first set, who you could tap, which is the same is exerted in this to do 1 point of damage to target. You could even target the opponent with this. And he had a nickname of Tim. So Robin Hood is now the Tim of Lorcana.
So my thoughts are, he's uninkable. I think you just need like something about Kelly Alert for that. But he does deal like 1 damage, so like ping, like you were talking about, to other characters. So it could be a good way to get rid of some of the smaller characters there, or even if you just want to throw out a bit of damage and then finish off with other items, isn't it? Who is it? Who?
You've got Plasma Blaster that basically does the same as it. I suppose, like, just thought on this, the other thing that you could potentially do with him is have like lots of things like the combine them with, instead of combining it with Emerald, combine it with Ruby, and have the shields to keep readying him and just
keep going.
Yeah, ding 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 ding, ping ping ping.
So yeah, I've popped him as a C.
Yeah, it was similar then.
Next up is the Prince.
I like this card. It's got Resist, it's got Bodyguard, Quest for 2, Inkable. It's an A.
I've got him as a B, so not dissimilar too much this time again. Not great with 1 strength. Do we even need that? Probably not. He's a Bodyguard with the resist of 1 for himself. I would prefer to use him over Hercules, true hero, due to better login, and that's the only thing that I could think was like a bit of a mirror match to him almost. But
yeah, I think he certainly looks like he fits in more decks than the Hercules does.
Okay. Next up is Tiana, and she's Celebrating Princess. What do you think of Tiana?
I like her. I think that she will be, if you are playing Steel, I think this is something that you'll probably be needing to play in this set coming up. She's got Resist 2, she's a princess, she Quest for 2 lore, that's all pretty decent. I think Emerald is going to be running rampant in this set. And the fact that once you're down to that 0, it then stops the Emerald player playing any actions. You need to be using Beast Mirror as well to be drawing extra cards.
I might be completely wrong here, but I've actually put her as an F. Trash. The reason behind it is I've said that she's very circumstantial. Why would you have an aim to have no cards in your hand to stop an action, or well, to stop other actions? As many actions as you need. Maybe I'm just thinking too practically about it.
Well, you're seeing what's out there at the moment. I'm perhaps
envisaging what the future could look like.
Yeah, and I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
It's just I'm getting this feeling from Steel that there's more to having 0 cards.
Okay, no, I get where you're coming from, but again, even if there was these sort of ideas about not having cards in your hand, I don't know if I would like to do that. Like, I'm playing a card game and this might be very rigid of me, but I want cards in my hand, so...
Yeah, that's why I would be playing it with Beast Mirror, so you are sort of still through your deck. Just the risk you've got then with playing them both is you've got to be able to play the cards you draw with the Beast Mirror, because then you don't want to end up with 1 card in your hand come the end of the turn and all your plans have got to pot.
Last card. Okay, so we have Mouse Armour, which is an item card. It's another card that I would like to see played before making a lot of comments about it, just because of this whole resist thing. Reducing damage dealt to 1 chosen character isn't great unless you really want to keep it in play, but then another opposing character can get rid of it easily anyway. I've put that it's nearly another F in my opinion, but I have put it as a C.
Yeah, I get what you're saying in regards to this, and it does feel a bit of a weird card. What I would say is that with all the resist cards, what I like about them is the mechanic does stack. So if you've got something with resist 1, you've got something else that gives it another resist 1, this comes out, it's another resist 1, then that card's then suddenly got resist 3. So if you've got multiple Mouse Armours in your deck, and you get 2 or 3 of them out, giving something resist 3 every turn makes it nearly invincible.
Yeah.
So I think it's got the potential for being in a combo deck. It protects your combo pieces. We've not really seen a good combo deck yet in Lorcana. This could potentially allow Ariel, Who's It Collector, to suddenly come to the fore. The character that needs all these items to suddenly bequesting multiple times. Well, this is an item. It's an item that protects the aerial. That could work suddenly. And we've seen Scarf from Ruby that is the sort of the circumstantial be prepared. Now, if you stick a couple of mouse armors on the Scar and it's taking 2 less damage, but it's going off and killing all these different characters, then that's a board wipe where it's not killed any of your side.
Yeah.
So that is when it is a better than a be prepared.
Yeah.
So I can see it's got potential, but I've still only given it a C. After all that.
Well, that's the end of our running through of these cards.
Yeah, there's going to be more to come. Already, well, we're coming towards the tail end now of the releases. They're still only sort of releasing, 3 or 4 cards a day. So I think there's going to be, just before the set comes out, suddenly a huge spurge of like 100 cards. So that's going to be hard to cover quickly. I'll look forward to that one. That'll be up into the early hours.
Definitely.
But we'll try and get them up with. This is all the ones that are currently on the app that we're now up to date with, and we'll try and get the other ones done in the next year. Thank you very much for watching, and click and subscribe.
Thank you very much. Albus says goodbye as well.